Well, it's a rainy, overcast day, but a wonderful one nevertheless. I've got a couple of reflections, and not only because I've just been listening to some audiobooks about Stoicism and letters of a Stoic in particular, but also because of the conversations I've been having with my family and my brother in particular, and because of some of the things I've been working on building. And one of the things is something that I learned and was potentially slightly aware or conscious of, but seemed to have forgotten, and was actually reminded with by my brother. And it really comes down to interpersonal relationships with your loved ones and with anyone you come into contact with. And it's that, how can you deal with people who seem to be negative all the time, and they seem to always come towards you, and for some reason they start off in not such a positive manner? Well, first off, sometimes it's best to avoid these people, obviously. However, there's a difference when these people are your loved ones, and you obviously cannot avoid being around them. And the thing is, well, the unfortunate thing is that sometimes these people, they may, have had a bad day, and then they come to you and you kind of receive the backlash, and unfortunately, all their emotions get thrown at you. But really the best thing to do in that case is, yes, avoid arguments, because the best way to win an argument is to avoid it. But better yet, you can smile through their criticisms. Because they're your loved one, there's no point in holding grudges anyway. That's not going to serve you, and life's too short to hold grudges. Instead, when you smile through their criticisms, it makes them realize and reflect later on. Why are they doing this? And it makes them realize that, you know what? I'm actually not angry at this person. It's actually what so-and-so said to me earlier in the day, or what's going on at work. It makes them more reflective rather than hold resentment. When you argue back, or even if you just ignore them, you build up resentment inside them and only actually anger. And worse yet, if you argue with them, well, really there's no way to win arguments, because, well, you could lose the argument, then, well, you've lost. But also you could win the argument, but then again, have you really won? Yes, you've won the argument, but at what cost? You've just built up resentment in the person, and you've just made an enemy. Is that really a win? Or is that just your ego that's telling you that's a win? There's a difference. So make sure you recognize this. Yeah, for now that's all. I had a couple of other thoughts, but I think they'll probably come to me after, because I'm just going for a sauna just now, so catch you later.
Later.
Well, would you look at that? The sun is out and the birds are singing. I've just finished up with the sauna, and, well, look, no one is perfect. And that's actually so true, in fact, that even Seneca, and this is not a quote, I am paraphrasing, said, "I am far from tolerable, never mind perfect." Even a Stoic philosopher, or some might consider a sage, although no one can really truly be a sage, but even he thought that of himself and knew he was not perfect. So, long story short, despite the fact that I come on here and I try to share as many lessons and as much value as possible and, you know, wisdom on here, I too am far from perfect. And recently I said something on this channel actually which I never would have thought could have hurted anyone, never mind someone close to me, and just something I shared on here, which I was actually just sharing really to build trust and to inspire, actually hurt someone really close to me. So I've taken that and I've learned from that mistake, and the lesson here is that between stimulus and response there is a gap. And the thing is, most people, they actually don't realize this gap. But this gap between stimulus and response is called freedom to choose, or freedom of choice. And I could choose here to argue and try and say I did nothing wrong, because truthfully my intentions were pure. But instead I recognized that without realizing I did something that just hurt someone. And instead of arguing and trying to prove my point, I take this on my shoulders and I apologize, and I make clear that my intentions were pure, and I recognize that what I did wasn't right, potentially. So, all that to say, realize that between stimulus and response, you have a freedom to choose. You have a freedom of choice. For some people, genetically and environmentally, this gap may be smaller than others, but nevertheless, everyone has this gap between stimulus and response. That is the freedom to choose. And the big thing here is that a small thing compounded over time is a big thing. So even if you have a small gap there, a small freedom of choice, over time, small choices, small decisions, they compound, and those choices build up into big things. So just know, everything is possible that you put your mind to, because truly everything starts here. It does, in the mind. It starts with your self-image and your paradigm and your view of the world. So utilize this gap between stimulus and response. Realize that you have this valuable thing, which is the freedom to choose. You have freedom of choice, no matter how small, you have it. And remember, it all starts in here. So go out there, do big things, and start small. Stay consistent and build them into big things. Be mega.